Hey guys, welcome. So Debian 13, codename Trixie. Today I'm going to talk about the Cinnamon desktop and tar files. I'll be using medium to advanced concepts, not recommended for new users. Certainly welcome to watch, but I am going to be using tar file. Tar stands for tape archive in my book. It's been around since the Unix days. So you can use regular tar or even compressed tar. But I will first give you the demo. I will be placing two types of backups in here. One will be dated. It'll have today's date on it and then tomorrow's date and so forth. Or you can just use simple names. I will click on one of these icons here. This one here has terminal open and you can see it closed automatically. And then I'll do the other one which does a quiet backup. These are all done through configurations through launchers. It uses the exact same script files though, with or without displaying a file list. Whenever you're using the ones that I'm using here, it'll continually just replace the file with the same name. The only thing you'll see is the modification time will change. Okay. One includes everything in Frank's home folder. Frank is our made-up name user for today. The other one, these are the script files. I control that. And there's one, I give you 5 examples, but generally you just need one. But one can also include or exclude your hidden files. This would be excluding. Okay, so if you want me to uncompress one of these, I will do that because these tar files are not compressed. So we call them tar balls, have for years. I have a nickname for them called tar boxes. They're just files thrown in a box. That's all this is. But generally when we double click, it asks us to extract them. Pull them out of the box, in other words. So regular tar files are not compressed. But you can also have tar.gz. That would be compressed. But everything is in here. All right, so if I wanted to show hidden, that doesn't have those because that's excluding hidden files. This one, on the other hand, I'll extract this one for you, includes everything, and I mean everything. And that's the one you need to be careful with because this can grow to enormous sizes, especially that folder called .config, and there's a couple more. But in either case, I'll make it a little bit larger for you. We have lots of files, hidden or not. All right, I'm going to turn off hidden, Control H. So I'm doing 2 different types of tar backups. And so let's get this out of the way. So I already gave you the definition of tar. It's an archiving utility. And again, it's been around since the Unix days. And originally did not have compression. And as time grew, it not only was the limitation of the size of the file taken away, where it can grow to enormous sizes, but also the compression was added in a different, I think it's an extension actually. So let me actually select a couple of these. Let's just do music and pictures and documents. I'm just going to do 3 folders. Right click, compress. You have this utility already. All right, you name that file whatever you want. But in either case, I will show you the examples. You have .7z, and that is compressed. And then dragging it all the way to the bottom is .zip, a very common one, also found on Microsoft. Very common .zip is a compression. However, in the middle here, you will see tar, tar.bz, tar.gz. These are compressed. But tape archive all by itself, all by its lonesome, .tar, is not compressed. And when you are selecting this one, your system is a lot faster than, let's say, you're doing tar.gz, because you're not waiting for the system to compress anything. It's just tossing them into a tar ball or a tar box, is what I call it. All right, so that's what I'm going to use for that example. And you can see how quickly it did that with roughly a little under 300 megabytes. What's in the box? Well, if I just do it this way, it's 3 folders. And anytime you take one of these, I recommend just creating a junk folder. And I already have one called junk, so let's call this one junk 2. If you need to pull stuff out of the box. All right, sorry. Let's call that junk 2 like I was trying to say. Junk 2. It should take that name instead of complaining. So let's get rid of the untitled folder. And here's junk 2. So I'm going to drag the box and throw it in there and then open it. I'm opening the box known as extraction. We're not extracting compressed files. We're just pulling them out because regular tar is not compressed. And the subfolders are also in here. Just giving you examples. There are subfolders even in here. All right. In either case, hopefully we understand what tar files are. I'm going to just get rid of that. Now, if we want to carry this a little bit further, we can do script files. And if we want to carry it even further, then we can do automated drives, Control L. And if you want to make your drives internal hard drives, besides the one you're booted up in, if you got a spare drive, in other words, internal, then you can auto-mount them. Auto-mounted drives can be useful if you're trying to do automated backups. And you can use the GNOME disk utility to auto-mount a drive. There is a tool in there for that. I do have videos on that also. So if you are wanting to do something like this and have this done on startup, the drive has to be auto-mounted. Because manually mounted drives generally don't mount themselves until you open up the file system. Or open up, log in other words. So this cannot be done on logins because your drive isn't mounted yet. But auto-mounted drives, on the other hand, are mounted during startup. And then you log in, and then it can perform this file here that's tied to a script file that can run that to produce these kind of effects. We'll talk about this last. Let's deal with the script files. Get out your screenshot tool if necessary. I'm going to start backwards. The one over here, I just made a copy of that and modified it. So again, as a matter of fact, most of these script files are created from one, and then I copied and changed names and device names. And these were also done on a different system. All right, I have the backup 2, which is an auto-mounted drive. You can see it says MNT and some cryptic name. And then this one is the USB where it says media on it. Again, Frank is our user for today. A made-up name. So Frank tar exclude is what I call this copy, and I didn't even bother renaming it because it's just a sample. It's going to make a copy into this right here. So if you want, I can do an F3 and then click the drive and leave it blank for a second. And then open the script file up. Now, as a reminder, we all forget about these things. Script files are written with text editors, and you also need to make sure that you allow that to be ran as a program. That's a thing that I forget occasionally. But here's your first clue. On a Cinnamon desktop, when you double click, if you don't see those 4 parameters there, your file is still a text file. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to turn this off. So if you forget about this and you double click, it'll just open up a text editor. And the text editor for Debian 13, Trixie, is gedit. It's plenty good for this process, actually. All right, double click. It's not a script file. It's a text file. Right click, properties, permissions, allow executing as a program. Now when I double click, I get the dialog box, run in terminal, display, cancel, or run. If I do run, it'll be silent. If I do run in terminal, it will open up terminal, do the process, and then close terminal, unless I have it reconfigured, which I don't think I do. I'm going to make sure that it's standard. It is standard. All right, I'm going to give you 2 examples of this. I'm going to run one in terminal and one without. Okay? But it'll auto close the terminal box, but you will see a file list kind of fly by. It'll be very fast, and it's excluding hidden files. It's done. There's the folder right there. Oh, excuse me, file. Everything is in there, with the exception of hidden files. All right, so if I open up the master home folder, I just need to resize this thing. The divider is like right there. This is just standard folders. That's generally good for everything. Now I'm going to do a silent backup using the exact same script file. It will not open up terminal. So let's take this apart. I'm going to press F3 to remove that, and we're going to go with this. So let's take the script file apart. All right, I'm going to display it for you. Feel free to get out your screenshot tool, your digital camera, or your smartphone, whichever. Line 1 is the bin bash statement. That's required. Born again shell is going to process tar. Tar is, again, in my book, tape archive or archiving utility. So this is a very simple 2-line script file, but it does exclude hidden files. So it has the exclusion in here. So I type in tar, which is the command, space, dash, dash, exclude equals, single quote, a period or dot, that star, and another single quote. This will exclude hidden files. Then I put a space, dash, CVF, which is create, verbose, and file. There are many options, space, and then the media frank USB backup is literally the name of the USB drive. That one. Control L, you can copy that into your script file. I'll put it on, I'll make some extra room in here. I'll put it on line 5. So put that in there. However, it doesn't have a /, so I put that in here right after the CVF, one space, and then I put in the name of the file that I want to create. I'm going to get rid of number 5. All right, so it's frank tar exclude, the name of the tar file. This is literally a name of a file instead of a folder because we're using tar instead of rsync. Rsync generally creates a folder. This is creating a file. It's frank tar exclude dot tar. And what are we doing that of? What are we copying? The current logged in user, which is in this case Frank. The tilde / represents his home folder. I generally use that instead of typing in the usernames. Okay, that's what made that copy in here earlier. All right, so that is a very simple manually mounted drive. Whether it's USB or whatever, doesn't matter. Now you notice that I do not have spaces in the name of that drive. If you put spaces in there, you will have to add extra symbols in there. Do yourself a favor. When you name your devices, format your devices, do not put spaces in the names. And keep them simple. That'll keep you from adding extra symbols in here. Okay, so this is called frank tar exclude. That means it excludes hidden files. Going to a USB device in this case. The next one in line, I think I can pull this down. Again, as a reminder, this is Debian 13, Trixie. All right, the next file in line is this one. So frank tar exclude, let's open that one up and blow it up, is also going to a auto-mounted drive this time. We've got bin bash statement on line 1. We got the tar with the exclusions and the same format, the -C, which is create, verbose, and file. But this time we're going to an auto-mounted drive. And what's the benefit of that? If I decided later on I don't want launchers to do this work, I want this startup file to do the work, then I would have to auto-mount the drive. Then I can perform that also manually instead of using regular launchers. Or both. So that's this file here. So if it's got MNT, let's look at our drive. Control L. It says MNT on it. GNOME Disk Utility is how you can do this rather easily. You just auto mount the drive, reboot the machine. Then it'll take on a new name. It's still, the default name is still the same or whatever you called it. And again, even with an auto-mounted drive, I still recommend no spaces in the names. All right, in either case, MNT. Don't forget the extra space in here. All right, script files are kind of picky when you don't put them in correct order. There's a space after tar, then there's the -- exclude equals single quote, dot, asterisk, and single quote. There are no spaces here. But there's a space after that where I put in -cvf. Because this is not compressed. It doesn't have a Z in there. All right, then I put in a space, and again, I don't recommend typing this. You can do this. Here, I'll punch it on line 5. Let's open up the file manager for a second. If you are coming in from fresh, look at your drive. It should be automatically auto-mounted. Remember, it should have been mounted when you logged in, before you logged in. You can either toggle this or hit Control L. Once it highlights that, you can do a right-click and copy. Then you can paste that inside your script file. Because again, that's cryptic number I don't recommend typing. Then you can place it in here. All the way up to this point because it doesn't have a /. Then put in a manual /, and you put in the name of the file, not a folder. Okay, we're not dealing with rsync here. We're dealing with tar. So we're putting the name of the file. In this case, franktar exclude.tar and space, and then that again represents the current logged in user, which in this case is Frank. So the only place you see the word Frank is in the name of the actual file it's going to create. And it's going to be putting it right here. Which one am I using? The exclude. That would be that one. So that file got created with this script file. It's just a name. But it does tell me something at the same time. It tells me that it's excluding your hidden files. This is including all files. This is excluding all files in the home folder, not to be mixed up with the system files. This is all to do with the home folder and nothing else. Okay, we're not copying system files here. But we're copying personal files. You know, the stuff that I think is important to a lot of people. Line 7, 8, and 9 is just fluff. It's just explaining things. So really, this is a 2-script file. Two-line script. All right, let's move on. So again, screenshot if necessary. Anytime, hit stop. Digital camera, screenshot tool, whatever. Smartphone. All right, this was franktar exclude. I'm going to do cancel without and reopen the file manager. And again, I just created that folder manually. So I think that was this one. Now this one contains everything. So let's take a peek at that one and control down. Oh, by the way, if you are using this text editor, this is called gedit. You should be able to hold down your control key and scroll with your computer mouse up to make it bigger. All right, line 1 bin bash, and then tar-cv, tar space -cvf, again, create verbose file, and then put a space and then punch in your, or copy and paste your mounted drive if you're using it. And then put the extra / and then whatever the name of the file you wanted to create. Don't forget the .tar. Okay, this is not rsync. We're not creating folders. We're creating a tar file. So frank tar all .tar, and don't forget to add the space. And what are we doing? Again, the logged in user. The complete home folder, not system files, home folder. That includes everything. And be careful with this one because it does get quite large. after a while. So we are doing frank all. That would be this one. That's 1.2 gigabytes. That's 800 megabytes. This will grow in time. People don't clean out their web browsers all the time. And if you have multiple browsers and you're using multiple browsers, a lot of people don't clean out their browsers. They just let the files pile up. Keep in mind, you're doing everything in your home folder and those hidden files are located there. It keeps adding. But since we're doing this by replacing the file constantly, when you run this manually, or if you're doing this in the system folder on startup here, then it can also be done the same way. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But it will just continually replace the file name, and then the modification times will just change. If you want me to prove that to you, I will do this. This is 4:58 when this was done. It was 19 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. All right, this is all, so that would be this one. I'm going to let you see what the timestamp is on it first. So it is 4:48 and 17 seconds. I'm going to give it a second here. It's still actually loading data, even though, and now you can see it says 5:18 on it. Well, now 5:19 because we hit the next cycle. But we originally created it at that point, but we modified this file with the same name on it. All right, it's very simple. Now, let's get into some deeper subjects. If you want to put a timestamp, like these have timestamps on them. All right, let's open up the file manager and let you see what I'm talking about. So line 1 is bin bash. Line 3 is a date code. That gets the date, day, month, and year from the system. And you manually create the folder first. Then this script file will place those files in there. So we're dealing with backup exclude. That would be this one. It created, let me get rid of the, because I uncompressed this earlier. Extracted it, I should say. Not uncompressed, extracted. This has today's date on it. Tomorrow, if I create this right now, it'll just replace that file. But tomorrow, if I create another one, then it will replace it with tomorrow's date, and so forth and so on. And this will keep growing until you run out of space, because I have nothing in my script file that does cleanup. I have those videos, by the way, in my library, if you look for them. And they do have a cleanup utility, not a utility, cleanup script commands in here that dumps out the last, it'll keep the last 5 or 3 or 4 or whatever. This one here does not do that. This is just being simple. However, it does add the date. So it's bin bash and then date uppercase equals $, and then the left bracket, and then type in date in lowercase, 1 space plus %d is day, dash %m is month, dash %y, big Y, is year. That's how that's doing that. If you use the small y, it's just 2 digits. It'll confuse you. Use the big Y. All right, what's the next one? Line 4 is backup underscore. I'm letting you see that symbol there. It's hard to see on the screen. But there's a lot of reasons developers and programmers use underscores. And a lot of people don't think about it. That's because a lot of us deal with script files. And we don't want to have to put in extra characters to do certain things. So backup underscore dir. Here's another example for you, not to get off on a tangent. That says .bash underscore history, .bash underscore logout, just to give you some of those examples. All right, in either case, the date code is done with number 3. the destination, where is it going, is done with this command. We put in a quote, and then you plug in the mounted drive, / and the name of the folder that you created. In my case, I created a folder called backup exclude, this one. Then I put an unquote on that. So there's a quote here, double quote here, and here. The system does not create that. You put the folder there yourself, and it will be blank until you run this script file. Then it will produce this, and then if you rerun that script file tomorrow, it will produce another one for each day. If you're doing all of them today, if you rerun the script right now, it'll just update that with today's date on it, because I don't have that set for time. Month, day, month, year is all I have up there. It's plenty good for this process. All right, now let's put it all together. So it's tar space -cvf, which is create verbose file. Then the $ backup, and again, I'm going to say this twice, underscore dir, because there's an underscore here and no space. So we don't have to do extra characters. We'll replace this into your tar process, because we're sending it to that device and to that folder. Then I put / right next to it, because we're getting the $ just means grab this information here. And then we're putting the name of the user here on purpose. I'm doing it on purpose. You don't have to put in that. But the $ means grab number 3 and get this $ information and throw it down over here. That's where that file gets its date code from. Let's grab a hold of this, and we're doing exclude, which would be that. So the $date is getting that system date from your system, the day, month, and year. Keep in mind, if you use the same script file all day long, it won't change until tomorrow. So if you make another one of these right now, all you'll see is the properties. It'll be modified. That's all you'll see. You'll see the same file. But tomorrow you'll see a new one. But I have nothing in the script file that removes anything. All right. However, let me continue. So we told it where to put it. We told it what to name it. It's frank-today'sdate.tar. And then we're telling it to exclude hidden files. Remember, there's no spaces here. -- exclude equals single quote, period, the star, and then single quote. And then one space, and the tilde / is the current logged in user. So we're making a backup of the user's home directory, but we're excluding his hidden files. And we're putting today's date stamp on it. That's all this file does. Now, we have all of these script files. Again, just examples. Don't have to use them. You can use manual tar by yourself. But let's talk about automation now. You went ahead and opened up GNOME Disk Utility, or whatever tool you used, and you decided to Control L and make this drive auto-mountable. I'm not going to talk about this in this video. I think most people have probably seen at least 1 or 2 of my videos on how to auto-mount a drive. But once the drive is auto-mounted, you can copy that into your script file. All right. More importantly, we are going to use one of these script files to do fully automated. And maybe we can use this one. So let's recap on what this one does. This excludes hidden files, and it's going to use the file frank-tar exclude on my drive here, that one. So let's create something that does that automatically for me. All right, so go find your startup applications and your system files, system settings, sorry. You can also go here and do the same, okay? I'm going to remove that because it's not there. And so everything that you see here is generally done on login. All the stuff in your startup applications on the Cinnamon desktop for Debian 13 is done on logins, as long as that's on. If you turn that off, it won't turn on the Blue Man applet. And generally, I don't use Bluetooth anyways. But if I wanted to create something for that script file, I'm going to be using, again, this script file here. And we're going to make an automatic thing where it does it on logins. So we start with the plus key. We do a custom command, and we give this thing a name. I'm just going to call it tar backup. And then I'm going to browse for the file, providing I have already made this file where it's executable. Remember, that is required. And we're going to use frank tar exclude, in other words, non-hidden files. And so I will put in a comment, no hidden files. And when I mean hidden files, I mean folders also. All right, once you click that on and this is active, whenever you log out and log in, it will perform all of these if they're on. Well, minus the Bluetooth. If I turn the system off and then restart it again tomorrow, you still have to log in. And again, these are all performed on logins. Now, one of the things that you may have a misconception about is you can also manually do this, even with this off. With this off, it won't automatically perform this, but it will if you slide that on, and that what makes that very convenient for you. But I can press the play button at any time, as long as it's highlighted, to produce that file. And I'll prove it to you right now. I'm erasing it on purpose, so it recreates it. So this will be current time. So the modification is 5:29 as of right now. Let's say you've been running for 5 hours and you decide you want to make another one of these to your backup drive, and it's auto-mounted. Instead of having a launcher to do this with, which you can also, that's very simple, you just right-click on your panel bar, System Settings, highlight this and hit the play button, and then it'll update this file automatically with the current timestamp. And if you have modified any of your files and folders, in other words, if you're deleting or removing or adding, a tar backup is a copy of this. And if it is the one that's doing no hidden, then of course it's just your visible folders. If you are trying to update your non-hidden, then you'll need to either make 2 of these or make a separate launcher for it, or just run the file inside of your home folder somewhere. This is more of a practical tar backup, standard folders, but all of them. I'm not telling it to do independent folders, which I could. The tar files, your script files, can be written with individual folders also. But I'm just doing it with a complete home folder, with or without hidden. That's all I'm showing today. But the beauty of using this is you can press that button at any time and not creating one of these. And I'll do that one more time as a recap. It's, I'll just minimize that. It's right-click, create a launcher. All you do is give it a name, find your script file, wherever that might be. Okay. It still needs a name. You can call it whatever you want. The beauty of this is, do you want to see a file list? Do that. If you don't want to see a file list, uncheck that. And then go find an icon. You can put whatever icon you want. They're just regular icon. If you decide to use your own custom icons, my advice is always the same on all Linux distributions. Once you use an icon in your system anywhere, including launchers, and you want it to reappear during a reboot, you do not rename the folder. You do not rename the icon because your system has to find them. And launchers are tied to a specific path of where these are located. If you pick a system icon, you don't really need to worry about it too much. But these launchers here, I showed when I started this video. Let me give you another example of this. I'll wipe both of them clean. Okay. One of them does a quiet backup, this one. This one gives me a file list and then closes the terminal box. I would need to reconfigure the terminal box to hold it open if I wanted to see those files. Okay, you can activate that command if you like. Okay, so which one was it? I think it was the last one, exclude. Right now it's hanging up on my video file, the one that's actually being filmed. You can see it says videos on it because this is an MP4 recording, but you can see a file list in here. You can see them. These are pictures. I'm just going to close that. But I can also do this. Once these are created, it's in the other, is you can right-click Properties and turn that off and turn that on. Right-click, sorry, wrong click. The other one should be off. It is. Now both of these will do silent backups. Why am I opening the file manager? Just to let you see it's creating these files. Otherwise it does this quietly. I'll do the first one without a file manager. Okay, it still works. You'll see it in a second. It's still here. And I'll do the other one. Or is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, I should pay attention to the labels. So one of these excludes and one of them includes. Excluding hidden files, including everything of the home folder, not to be confused with your system files. There's other utilities for that. Hopefully you got something out of this and maybe can be useful in the future. Thank you for watching.